Is it an SSRS? RSSS? How does that work?
I don't know.
This is RM27. It's a 1968 Camaro. When you first catch a glimpse of it, looks fairly stock. Depends on if it's sitting still or rolling. We'll get to that. Got a lot of houndstooth. It's anything but stock. We try to up the bar with every sweepstakes, and this is no exception. This thing is an absolute beast. What are we working with?
So, okay, definitely up in the bar. We've done Camaros before, first gen Camaros. We've done a 68 with a big block. This thing takes all of that to the next level. And even just starting with the exterior. You know, the body and paint is extremely nice on this car. It's black. The paint job is almost perfect, which is, it's hard to even say a paint job is perfect. This one's pretty close. So it started out as a really cool car. Black with the white stripes is iconic. This is what you think of when you think 68 Camaro SS. Upping the bar. So everything underneath this car, like you said, it looks stock. Everything underneath this car is way better than stock, and it will outperform most of the cars that we've ran as sweepstakes cars. Most of the cars out on the road, this thing will outperform it, which is crazy for a 1968 vehicle. So yeah, the option codes on this thing, original, was pretty stacked. And there's some history from the previous owner and builder, David White. He's the one that's responsible for putting this car together at the level it is. And he said that he thought the car lived kind of a checkered past with some racing heritage maybe. He saw some hood pin stuff that was indicative of it being like somebody's kind of race car back in the day. So it started as a really nice optioned first gen Camaro. And then he took all that apart and just raised the bar with everything. And he was worried about who gets to drive this car because of how fast it really is. And firsthand, I can tell you this car is extremely fast. He kept upping the ante with the engine combo until we got to what I would say in today's era is the best engine combo we've had. It's an LT4. So we've had modern cars.
Super light car, which is incredible. And you can kind of like, because it is, and I don't want to misspeak here, but I think it's a Gen 5 GM crate, which is the LT4, variable valve timing, which lets you kind of drive it like a normal car.
Correct.
And then when you want to get crazy, it's all right there.
It's a big advantage in the drivability factor that the cam timing isn't super aggressive at idle. So when you are, you know, just driving the car around on the street, the idle isn't that aggressive because of the cam timing, but you feel it when the cam timing changes on this car and the boost starts happening. This thing pulls like a freight train, and that's what I expected. I mean, we've driven ZL1s and CT5 Blackwings, all the best modern performance GM cars, Corvettes, they all come with this engine, and it's for a reason. And when it gets put into something this lightweight, with none of the nannies, none of the traction control, none of the things to really keep you out of trouble.
To keep you safe.
Yeah, so,
you are the computer.
So yeah, so it's easy to get into trouble in a fun way. You know, whether that be breaking the speed limit or on a closed course, just enjoying the car.
Disclaimer, we do not endorse breaking the speed limit.
We do not.
So let's get into it, man. What's under the hood of this thing?
Yeah, let's pop the hood. This is where this car shines, and woo, it looks incredible under here. So the LT4 is a crate engine. So most of what you see is direct from GM. It's running their power management system as far as the computer. It has their exhaust manifolds, their accessory drive. So it's got a lot of the factory reliability built into it. It is a direct injected engine. So it has a high pressure pump. And then the fuel system is like basically GM, it's a fuel pump management system with pulse width modulation. So this thing is very, very modern. It's a technologically advanced engine. And that's why it makes smooth, reliable power. It feels really fast. I mean, this engine in a heavier car feels fast. With a stick shift, it's a pretty wild ride in this car.
Translation for the layman there, if you're going to downshift and get after it, make sure you're pointed straight.
Yeah, make sure you're pointed straight. Although I will say it's got a lot of suspension stuff too. We'll get into what it takes to make a car with this much power handle and stuff, but everything's upgraded. So it does have a better cooling system. We upgraded to a bigger radiator with dual electric fans. Mr. White had installed a nice oil cooler setup to keep the engine cool. His concern with the supercharger turning at the RPM it is, that this engine produces a lot of heat. If you look at the cars that this engine's installed in from the factory, they have a ton of heat exchangers to manage that. So when you're retrofitting into a Classic, he did the same. He added a lot of heat exchangers and the intercooler. So it stays nice and cool. We've driven this car on a hot day and it doesn't overheat. I mean, it stays like under 220 in traffic, which is kind of the happy spot for this engine. And it fits nicely in here. It's really pretty tidy for all the systems that have been integrated into a vintage car. It all looks like it should be there. So
yeah, it looks absolutely great. You can tell it's got the vacuum assist brake booster for some power braking, and it's got a 6-speed?
6-speed, yeah. So this is a Tremec 6-speed, and it has a center force clutch to handle all that power, hydraulic throwout bearing, and it's connected to the rear to a Currie 12 volt. So the rest of the drivetrain is very stout to handle this power level, and it's a lot of fun. The 6-speed behind this engine is just a hoot to drive. It's a blast. I mean, once you get up to speed, you're rowing those gears, you know, this thing makes torque at like the entire RPM range. So it never feels like you're in the wrong gear or anything. So.
And then as far as suspension on this thing goes, he's got an Art Morrison subframe on this?
Yeah, so that was one of the big things when you were looking at this car to purchase a potential sweepstakes car. We want a well-rounded vehicle. It's not just a big engine and nothing else around it. So when you started showing me this car and we started talking about it, that really stood out to me. The Art Morrison subframe is a really good upgrade. It changes the whole dynamics of the car, and that's because it uses a lot of Corvette suspension parts. So it bolts on a lot of the upgraded factory geometry. These GM engineers put so much time and effort into figuring out how to make a Corvette handle, and it's arguably, you know, one of the best handling sports cars out there. So to be able to bolt that technology and all that R&D into a Classic chassis to basically update the handling to the same level that the engine is really nice. So I was really impressed to see an Art Morrison. It's not a cheap piece.
Yeah.
This is not a budget build. This is basically best of the best type stuff. The Art Morrison subframe is definitely that, and it uses taller spindles for improved geometry. Bolted to those is big Wilwood disc brakes, 6 pistons in the front, 4 pistons in the back. The suspension stuff doesn't stop there either. This thing has subframe connectors to stiffen up the unibody chassis. And the rear end, no more leaf springs. So it's coilovers in the rear and the front now. Strange engineering coilovers in the front, Ride Tech adjustable coilovers in the back, and a Ride Tech triangulated 4-link in the back. So there's a ton of adjustability and suspension tuning. If you do get this car and you really want to start taking it out on like performance track days and stuff like that, there's a ton of adjustability to play with. For the street right now, with the setup it has, it's plenty capable. I mean, you need to be a really good driver to be able to use the potential of this car. So.
And then I know we upgraded the wheels. What did we go with?
So these are Boze forged 3-piece wheels, 18s in the front, 19s in the back, and we have Continental extreme contact tires on them. Let's see what these tire sizes are, because it's kind of a big and little staggered setup, which is kind of common. You want to get as big of a tire on the back as you can. So the fronts are 255/35. And we had to put new rear tires. This kind of power level, rear tires are probably not going to last you too long. These are 295/35s in the back. And the way that was able to be fit all in there is the car is mini tubbed as well. It was that way when we got it. He went through all the effort to make sure you get a big tire back there. So.
Yeah, got to have the mini tubs to fit those meats back there, and that's all to put that power to the ground.
Correct, yeah.
Other than that, it's just got the classic Gen 1 Camaro styling to it with the spoiler in the back.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a 68, so it doesn't have the 69 gills right here. What do you call those?
Yep. Yeah, they're like kind of a
vents?
design element that those cars started getting a little bigger. This has some key 68 stuff to distinguish it. You know, no vent windows. That's a big thing. So the good thing about this car is it's got a good look. When you roll all the windows down, that's one of my favorite things about all these cars that we do is they're hard tops. So when you roll all the windows down, it frames the interior. So you basically get a nice pass-through look, the open air feel. Something that surprises me about all this too is you would think with all these windows open that these cars are going to be really noisy with the windows down on the road. But we've had this car up to freeway speeds, 75 miles an hour within the legal limits. And it's nice and quiet in here. You can talk in the car, have a conversation.
Yep.
There's just something about the way they were engineered that these cars are just built to be driven and enjoyed, and they got a lot of things right from the factory. So the nice thing about a RestoMod at this level is that all that really cool stuff about a Camaro that they got right is still present. You still get the soul of a first-gen Camaro with a lot of little modern touches.
Yeah, it's absolutely customized on the inside. It's all TMI interior with this beautiful leather and Alcantara, but still the touches of the houndstooth, so it's still kind of a throwback to those Gen 1 Camaros and kind of those signature touches that you're talking about. But everything that you touch as a driver and a user of this car, it's all billet, customized parts, and just contributes to a beautiful drivability in this car. It's comfortable, it's fast as all get out, everything you'd want in a modern RestoMod.
Yeah, it's extremely fast. I will say that. I was impressed. We like this engine. It was a no-brainer when you found a car that already had this engine. Supercharged V8 with a stick shift is...
it's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat. We're getting spoiled with those power levels, but we want to spoil a winner with this power level.
Yeah, like we said, we keep trying to up the ante for you guys out there, and I think this is in keeping with that. It's an incredible car. With an incredible powertrain underneath the hood, and just looks amazing. Like you said, the paint is show quality. It's a real SS, and every little thing on this car has been tended to, both by Mr. White, and then once we got it in our hands, we made a couple of changes as well.
Yeah, so every little detail, like you said, a big question we get asked about is lighting as well. The headlights are all LED upgraded. The headlight doors are Detroit Speed Engineering electronic headlight operated doors. The rear tail lights are LED as well, so those are digital LED tail lights. Even the wipers have been upgraded with a Newport Engineering wiper motor. So tons of the little functionality stuff on the car has been upgraded already to make everything kind of more modern. You get rid of some of the finicky original type parts, and then you get better lighting, better electronic. So a lot of modern technology has been integrated, but in a way where you don't notice it at first. When you look at this Camaro, it's a Camaro. It doesn't look like anything else. It is what you want if you're looking for a 68 Camaro. So
yeah, but it's made for modern streets, so that when you win this thing, we'll just toss you the keys, put 20 grand in your pocket, and you're ready to hit the road.
Yeah, and in a comfortable way. Like you said, the TMI interior, steering wheel's been upgraded. It's got a tilt column, Dakota Digital gauges. The interior just has a ton of upgrades as well. Custom console, a stereo system. I mean, it just doesn't end with this car. There's so many details to talk about. The billet hinges, you know, the Hotchkiss strut braces. A lot of the overflow cans are all like custom aluminum fabricated. All the plumbing's real nice. This car is just top to bottom has gone through complete transformation into what I consider, this is probably the ultimate RestoMod as far as 68 Camaros go.
Yeah.
This engine and trans combo, the drivetrain, the look of the car. I love that nothing has gone too drastically modern with the look of the car.
Yeah, I mean, you never know just looking at it that it's got all this underneath the hood and the Art Morrison subframe underneath all that and all the engineering that went in to making this thing just a pavement pounding machine. You're gonna take these guys on a ride along?
Yeah, I think that's where this car shines, and I love driving it, so I think that's the best thing to do is get behind the wheel.
You got a tough job.
Yeah, those are the rough days when I get to drive an amazing Camaro and talk about it, talk about the experience, because it's hard to describe, it's hard to even portray on camera, you know, how quick a car like this is and what all these upgrades really translate to in the driving experience. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the key points in the interior, but sitting in here, there's a ton to talk about. So I'll just kind of go through it because everywhere you look, something's been upgraded or modernized, but it still looks like a 68 Camaro in here. So there's a ton of features that are familiar. The whole layout of the dash is 68 Camaro, but the gauges have been upgraded. They're all Dakota Digital, and even the little really Camaro specific console gauges. So you have volts, temp, fuel, and oil pressure all in the console, and it kind of cleans up the two gauges here for speedo and tach, so that you can monitor those when you're doing some good performance driving. The seats I'm sitting in, so these are TMI buckets, but they have basically every option that you can get from TMI. So it's like suede plus leather inserts, and then the houndstooth, which I really like, the black and white houndstooth. It's a very Camaro specific thing, and in a black and white car, it just looks amazing. They tied that in with the dash piece. This is a TMI piece. The door panels and the rear panels are TMI. All the stitching and leather is matched to the seats. Same thing with the console. Custom built console, but the stitching is matched to the rest of the upholstery. And that houses a nice billet trim ring for the shifter boot, which is also matched. A Hurst shifter, Hurst shifter ball, which is very iconic for a 60s muscle car, is seeing that white 6-speed shift knob. We upgraded to a Grant steering wheel. It had a billet steering wheel in there before. It was really hard to keep it polished and clean, so we went with the black steering wheel with matching stitching and a red Chevy emblem. Tilt column with kind of a spacer to improve the ergonomics so that you're not hitting the dash when you're turning. And it's got a custom billet column mount. The pedals are all brand new. It's got a drive-by-wire pedal from the GM computer. Parking brake is still in the same spot, but you have speakers in the kick panel now. And this carpet is really, really nice. It's a German square weave carpet, all custom built with custom stitched floor mats to fit perfectly in there. This is not just a molded carpet, really high end. And it's got some upgrades for convenience too. So you have 2 cup holders, you got a USB charging station, and a little cubby to put some of your paperwork or whatever you need to in there. The headliner is brand new but original. Same thing, dome lights, kind of original style, but with an LED bulb in it. And the same thing continues in the back. It's a matched rear seat, TMI panels in the rear. Everything is brand new as far as all the trim, the moldings, the clips. So this car is really nice, really, really nice as far as everything that you interface with feels high end, and it's comfortable. You sit in here and it feels not like a huge car. You feel a little bit more sporty when you're driving this car. So I really like the cockpit feel of it, and all the stuff is real. Everywhere you look, it's just upgraded, improved. There's billet stuff, there's brand new restored pieces in here, and a lot of custom touches everywhere. So it's a great car to be behind the wheel of.
So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the RestoMods Touch, which is the Esparza chin spoiler.
My favorite, a chin spoiler. It's like Frank's Red Hot sauce.
Goes good on everything?
We put that shit on everything.
Frank's Red Hot. I put that shit on everything.
However, this is original chin spoiler to this car. So the Camaro chin spoiler looks great. It fits the car perfectly. We use it a lot on other cars. But yeah, we have to mention it. Can't leave that out.
You know, just for the layperson out there, that helps tuck some of that suspension stuff underneath so it's not all visible. I'm sure it also does something in terms of like air splitting and
yeah, it has a little bit of an
aerodynamics.
air dam effect, but visually it really completes the car, and that's what makes it an SS.
And it's a Camaro chin spoiler, so we couldn't have a Camaro and not put a chin spoiler on it after we put it on a Charger and a Challenger and a Chevelle and a truck.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. No, it's meant for this car, and I think it really completes the look and really brings this thing together. And that's kind of the RestoMods signature touch. And as always, we do all this stuff for you. You could be taking home this one-of-a-kind 1968 supercharged V8 Camaro, along with $20,000 in cash, but only from RestoMods.com. Often imitated, never duplicated. Head to RestoMods.com, claim those entries, and you could be taking this car right here home to your garage.